The grand chamber of the Galactic Council was designed to make visitors feel small. The ceiling stretched up so high that clouds could form near the top. Hundreds of seats rose in circles, tier after tier, forcing anyone standing in the center to look up at their judges. Hannah Park stood in that center now, and she did not feel small at all. She wore her combat uniform still, dark green with scorch marks on one sleeve. Her short black hair was pulled back tight. Her face showed nothing. Behind her stood 4 more humans. Her team, all wearing the same green uniforms, all standing straight and quiet. High Chancellor Vextar towered over the council floor from his highest seat. He was massive, covered in dark red scales with eyes like gold coins. His species, the Draxians, had ruled the council for 3,000 years. He looked down at Hannah like she was an insect that had wandered into his home. "Commander Park," his voice boomed through the chamber. "You stand before this council to explain why humans were sent to the Vrykul cluster. 3 Federation armadas failed that mission. Thousands died. Yet somehow you and 4 others claim to have succeeded where our greatest military forces could not." Hannah said nothing. She just looked up at him with calm eyes. Vextar continued, his voice dripping with contempt. "Humans, the newest species in the Federation, barely 200 years since you discovered faster-than-light travel, you still fight wars on your own homeworld. Your technology is primitive. Your culture is violent. And yet you expect us to believe that 5 of you accomplished what tens of thousands of our finest soldiers could not?" A murmur ran through the council. Hundreds of alien species all watching. Some nodded in agreement with Vextar. Others leaned forward with curiosity. None looked at the humans with respect. Behind Hannah, Lieutenant Jiwon Kim shifted slightly. She was smaller than Hannah, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She watched the council members, reading their body language, noting which ones seemed hostile and which ones seemed merely curious. Sergeant Minho Choi stood next to Jiwon. He was broader, built like a wall, with a face that wanted to smile even in this serious moment. He whispered something that made the medic next to him, Dr. Yuna Lee, press her lips together to keep from laughing. Even here, Minho found humor. Corporal Desung Nam stood at the end of their line. Tall and thin, quiet as always. His eyes moved constantly, but his face never changed expression. He was listening to something the others could not hear, monitoring the council's private communications through the device hidden in his ear. From the side of the chamber, another voice spoke.
"High Chancellor, if I may." Admiral Kira Sung stepped forward.
She was older than Hannah, her black hair streaked with gray, her uniform covered in medals that represented decades of service. She was the first human to reach admiral rank in the Federation forces. "The decision to send Commander Park's team was not made lightly," Admiral Sung said. "The Vrykul themselves requested human intervention. After 3 failed Federation assaults, they studied our military history and believed we might approach the problem differently." "Military history," Vextar repeated, making it sound like an insult. "Yes, we have all heard about human military history. Thousands of wars, millions dead. You slaughtered each other for resources, for land, for beliefs, for pride. You nearly destroyed your own planet multiple times. And this violent past is supposed to impress us." Hannah finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire chamber. "You asked why we were sent, High Chancellor. Would you like to know what we did there? Would you like the full after-action report?" She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that others did not. Vextar leaned forward. "Yes, Commander, tell us. Tell us how 5 primitive humans defeated the Kreth Dominion when 3 armadas could not." Hannah's smile grew a fraction wider. "Do you want the diplomatic version or the real one?" "The real one," Vextar said immediately. "Very well," Hannah said. "But to understand what we did, you need to understand where we started. 3 months ago, my team received orders marked Level 10 classified. That is the highest security level in the Federation military. The orders came directly from the Vrykul government in exile." The chamber grew quieter. Even the whispers stopped. "The Vrykul cluster had been occupied by the Kreth Dominion for 11 months, Hannah continued. "The Kreth are military specialists. They build fortress worlds. They believe in defense as the ultimate form of warfare. Their strategy is simple. Take a planet, fortify it so heavily that attacking it costs more than it is worth. Wait for the enemy to give up." "We know this," Vextar said impatiently. 3 Federation armadas attacked the Vrykul homeworld. Each time the Kreth fortifications held. Each time we lost thousands of soldiers and dozens of ships. The cost was too high to continue. Exactly, Hana said. The Kreth strategy worked perfectly. Against you. She paused. But the Vrikol did their research. They studied every species in the Federation. They were looking for someone who understood a different kind of war. Not the clean, honorable warfare the Federation practices. They wanted someone who understood messy war. Complicated war. War where the weaker side finds ways to win. They found humanity's military records. They read about wars on Earth. They learned about guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, asymmetric combat. They learned about how weaker forces defeated stronger ones throughout human history. And they sent a request directly to Earth government. Send us humans who know how to win impossible wars. Admiral Sung spoke again. I assembled Commander Park's team personally. Each member was chosen for specific skills, not just combat skills, skills in understanding how enemies think, how they break, how they can be defeated without massive casualties. We took a small cargo ship to the Vrikol system, Hana said. Nothing military looking. Just a transport vessel carrying supplies. The Kreth did not even bother to intercept us. To them, we looked like refugees, not soldiers. That was our first advantage. They underestimated us from the beginning. When we landed on the Vrikol homeworld, we met with Elder Vorin, leader of the resistance. He was desperate but also doubtful. He looked at 5 humans and wondered how we could possibly help. His people had been fighting the Kreth for almost a year with no success. I told him we would not fight the way the Federation fights. We would not attack their fortresses. We would not try to match their military strength. Instead, we would fight the way humans have always fought when facing superior enemies. We would be unpredictable, adaptable, and relentless. Vextar's golden eyes narrowed. You used dishonor tactics. We used human tactics, Hana corrected. There is a difference. What you call dishonorable, we call survival. What you call primitive, we call effective. The Kreth expected another frontal assault. They prepared for another honorable Federation attack. We gave them something they had never experienced before. She paused, looking around the chamber at all the alien faces watching her. Would you like me to continue, High Chancellor? Would you like to hear exactly how 5 humans defeated 50,000 Kreth soldiers without firing a single shot at their fortress? The chamber was completely silent now. Every being in it was listening. Vextar stared down at the small human woman who stood before the greatest council in the galaxy and showed no fear. Finally, he spoke. Continue, Commander Park. Tell us everything. Hana nodded once. Her smile was gone now, replaced by the cold professional mask of a soldier who had done difficult things and would explain them clearly. It started with understanding the enemy. Lieutenant Kim, please explain your initial assessment. Jiwon stepped forward, her voice clear and precise. The Kreth Dominion is a hierarchical military culture. They value strength, discipline, and order above all else. They have never lost a defensive engagement in their recorded history, but they have also never faced an enemy that refused to fight on their terms. We studied their psychology, Jiwon continued. We identified their assumptions, their blind spots, their fears, and we built our entire strategy around exploiting those weaknesses, not with weapons. With understanding. Hana looked up at Vextar one more time. That is how it began, High Chancellor. With 5 humans who understood that the strongest fortress can still have a weak foundation. Would you like to hear what we did next? The High Chancellor of the Galactic Council, ruler of civilizations spanning thousands of worlds, nodded slowly. For the first time in 3,000 years of Draxian leadership, he was not entirely certain he wanted to know the answer. The Vrikol homeworld looked like a prison from space. Massive energy shields covered the entire planet in a blue glow. Weapon platforms floated in orbit, each one powerful enough to destroy a warship. On the surface, Kreth fortifications dotted every major city, gray and brutal against the green landscape. Hana's small cargo ship slipped past the orbital defenses without trouble. The Kreth sensors marked it as a civilian transport, not worth attention. They were looking for military vessels, for armadas, for threats. 5 humans in a cargo ship did not register as dangerous. They landed in a valley far from any Kreth base. Elder Vorin met them there with a small group of Vrikol fighters. The Vrikol looked like large birds with feathered crests and sharp eyes. Vorin was old, his crest gray instead of the bright blue of younger Vrikol. He studied the humans with obvious doubt. 5, he said, his translator converting his clicking speech into human words. The Federation sent us 5 soldiers, against 50,000 Kreth warriors, against fortresses that cannot be broken. against shields that stopped 3 armadas. He made a sound that the translator interpreted as a laugh, but it sounded bitter. Hana looked at him calmly. Elder Vorin, how many times have you attacked Kreth positions in the past year? Dozens of times, Vorin said. We lose fighters every time. We accomplish nothing. They are too strong. You attack their fortresses directly? Hana asked. Where else would we attack? That is where they are. Then stop attacking fortresses, Hana said simply. That is exactly what they want you to do. They built those fortresses to be impossible to destroy. Every time you attack them, you play their game by their rules. Vorin's crest flattened in confusion. But how else do we fight them? We do not fight them, Hana said. We break them. She turned to her team. Lieutenant Kim, show him. Ji-won stepped forward and projected a hologram from her wrist device. It showed the Kreth command structure, layers of hierarchy from the garrison commander down to individual squad leaders. The Kreth are predictable, she explained. They follow strict protocols. Every decision goes up the chain of command. Every soldier knows exactly what they are supposed to do in every situation. That sounds like strength, Vorin said. It is also weakness, Ji-won replied. They cannot adapt when something unexpected happens. They have to wait for orders, and we are going to give them many unexpected things. Minho pulled out a small device from his pack. This is a human smoke grenade. Simple technology, right? Just create smoke. The Kreth have sensors that see through smoke. Their armor filters out toxins, so smoke is useless against them. He grinned. Except we are not going to use it against their sensors or their lungs. We are going to use it against their minds. Vorin looked more confused. I do not understand. You will, Hana said. Dr. Lee, explain the Kreth psychology. Yuna stepped forward, her voice gentle but clear. The Kreth culture values order and control.
Chaos is their greatest fear.
They prepare for every threat they can identify and categorize, but they have never fought an enemy that deliberately creates chaos they cannot categorize. Over the next weeks, we will train your fighters, Yuna continued, not to attack fortresses, not to fight Kreth soldiers directly. We will teach them to be ghosts, to strike where the Kreth do not expect, in ways they cannot predict and disappear before they can respond. Daesung, who had been silent until now, spoke quietly. I have already infiltrated their communication network. They use excellent encryption, but they rely on it too much. They believe it cannot be broken, so they say things they should not say. I know which officers are nervous, which ones are confident, which ones doubt their commander. I know their patrol schedules, their supply routes, their maintenance cycles. He looked at Vorin with steady eyes. I know more about the Kreth garrison than most of their own soldiers do, and they do not even know I exist. Vorin stared at the humans. His crest slowly rose, a sign of dawning understanding. You are not here to fight a war. You are here to fight a different kind of war. Now you understand, Hana said. She pulled up a map of the planet. Show me your resistance cells. Show me where your fighters are hiding. Show me every tunnel, every cave, every forgotten building. We are going to turn this entire world into a maze that the Kreth cannot navigate. Over the next 2 weeks, the humans worked with the Vrikol resistance. They did not train them to be soldiers in the traditional sense. Instead, they taught them to be invisible. Minho showed them how to build traps from common materials. Not traps meant to kill, but traps meant to confuse and frighten. A sudden noise in an empty building. Lights that flickered at random intervals. Equipment that stopped working for no apparent reason. Small things that made Kreth soldiers nervous and unsure. Ji-won taught them about timing, how to watch patterns, learn schedules, predict movements, how to know when a Kreth patrol would be in a certain place, and how to make sure something strange happened exactly when they arrived. Not an attack, just something wrong, something that should not be there. Yuna studied Kreth culture and shared what she learned. The Kreth believed in omens and signs. They had superstitions about certain numbers and colors. Yuna showed the Vrikol how to exploit these beliefs, how to leave marks that would seem meaningless to other species, but would disturb Kreth soldiers deeply. Daesung worked his magic with their communications. He did not just listen. He occasionally whispered. A false report here, a garbled transmission there. Orders that almost made sense but were slightly wrong. Nothing obvious enough to be clearly fake, but enough to create doubt and confusion. Hana coordinated everything. She divided the Vrikol fighters into small cells that did not know about each other. This way, if one cell was captured, they could not reveal the others. Each cell had a specific mission. Each mission was designed to create a specific psychological effect. This is not about killing Kreth soldiers, Hana explained to the resistance leaders. This is about making them afraid, making them doubt, making them see threats where there are none and miss threats where there are. We are going to make them defeat themselves. Elder Vorin watched the preparations with growing hope. He had seen his people fight bravely for a year with no results. Now he saw them learning to fight differently, not bravely charging at fortresses but cleverly moving through shadows. On the 15th day, Hana called a meeting of all the cell leaders. Over 200 Vrykol gathered in a hidden underground chamber, their eyes bright with anticipation. Tomorrow we begin, Hana said. You all have your assignments. You all know your targets. Remember the most important rule. Do not try to be heroes. Heroes die. We need you alive, moving, staying one step ahead of the enemy. The Kreth think they know war, she continued. They have studied Federation tactics for centuries. They know how to counter every military strategy in the database, but they have never studied human history. They do not know what we know. She paused, looking at each face. We know that wars are not won by the strongest. They are won by those who refuse to give up, by those who adapt, by those who find new ways when old ways fail. The Kreth have the fortresses, but we have something they cannot build walls against. We have imagination. The Vrykol made a sound together, a clicking harmony that their species used for agreement and determination. It echoed through the chamber like rain on stone. That night, Hana stood outside under the alien stars. Ji-won joined her, both of them quiet for a long moment. Do you think this will work? Ji-won asked. It has to, Hana said. We do not have the forces for a conventional war. We do not have the weapons to break their fortresses. All we have is our understanding of how fear works, how doubt spreads, how order can become chaos. And if that is not enough, Hana smiled slightly, then we adapt. That is what humans do. We always have. The next morning, the invisible war began. The Kreth garrison did not know it yet, but they had already started to lose. General Korax of the Kreth Dominion sat in his command center, deep within the largest fortress on the planet. Around him, screens showed every part of the occupation zone. Sensors tracked movement. Cameras watched streets. His forces controlled everything, just as they always did, just as they were trained to do. But something was wrong. It started small. A supply convoy reported strange noises in an abandoned building. When soldiers investigated, they found nothing, just empty rooms and shadows. But the noises had been real. Their sensors recorded them, high-pitched sounds that made Kreth soldiers uncomfortable. The next day, 3 different patrols reported equipment failures, weapons that suddenly would not fire, scanners that showed false readings, communication devices that produced static at random moments. Engineers checked everything and found no problems. The equipment worked perfectly, until it did not. The day after that, soldiers started seeing marks, strange symbols painted on walls in colors that meant bad luck in Kreth culture. The symbols followed patterns from old Kreth legends about spirits and omens. No one admitted being afraid of such primitive superstitions. But the symbols kept appearing, always in places soldiers had just cleared as if painted by ghosts. Korax dismissed the reports. The Vrykol resistance is getting desperate, he told his officers. They try to frighten us with tricks because they cannot fight us properly. Ignore these distractions. But the distractions did not stop. They got worse. A week into the campaign, Hana watched from a hidden observation post as Kreth soldiers searched a district they had already searched twice before. The soldiers moved slower now. They checked shadows more carefully. They jumped at unexpected sounds. It is working, Ji-won said beside her, studying the soldiers through binoculars. Look at their body language. They are tense, uncertain. They do not trust their own senses anymore. Daesung, report, Hana said quietly into her communicator. Their internal communications show increased stress. Daesung's voice came back. Officers are reporting to Korax that their soldiers are making mistakes, missing obvious details but seeing threats that are not there. Paranoia is spreading through their ranks. Good, Hana said. Minho, are you in position? Ready when you are, Minho's cheerful voice replied. This is going to be beautiful. Hana checked her watch. Execute in 30 seconds. What happened next would later be called the Night of Ghosts in Vrykol history. Across the entire occupied zone at exactly the same moment, things began to happen. In one district, Kreth automated turrets suddenly rotated and fired at their own supply depot. The shots were blanks that Minho had secretly loaded, but the soldiers did not know that. They saw their own defenses attacking their position. In another district, all the lights went out simultaneously. When they came back on 3 minutes later, every single door in a Kreth barracks was standing open. No one had seen anyone enter or leave, but every door was open. In the fortress itself, Daesung's finest work appeared. Every screen in the command center displayed the same message for exactly 5 seconds. The message was an ancient Kreth script, a language only scholars knew. It translated to, "The fortress falls from within." Then the screens returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Korak stared at his screens in disbelief. His communications officer was already shouting reports. Every base was calling in. Every patrol was reporting something impossible. All at the same time. How? Korax demanded. How did they coordinate all this? Our sensors show no unusual activity. No communications between resistance cells. No movement of forces. How? No one had an answer. That was the point. The Kreth could not understand an enemy that fought without following the rules they knew. The next week was worse. Kreth officers started to suspect each other. When equipment failed, they wondered if saboteurs were inside their own ranks. When orders got confused, they questioned if their communication was truly secure. Daesung fed their paranoia carefully, inserting just enough false information to make everyone doubt everyone else. Yuna's psychological operations reached their peak. She had studied every aspect of Kreth culture and found their deepest fears. The Kreth believed that disorder was the greatest sin, that chaos was worse than death. So she gave them chaos. Recall resistance cells, following her detailed instructions, created situations that made no military sense, but perfect psychological sense. They stole one boot from sleeping soldiers, leaving the other. They rearranged furniture in empty buildings so that rooms looked wrong, but not obviously tampered with. They played recordings of Kreth distress calls from abandoned areas. Each act was small. Each act was harmless. Together they were devastating. "The human female wants to see you," a Vrikol runner told Korax at the end of the second week. The general had not slept properly in days. His fortress was secure. His soldiers were in position. Everything was under control, except nothing felt under control anymore. "Human female?" Korax asked. "What human female?" "The one leading the resistance," the runner said. "She requests a meeting. She says she will come alone." Korax almost laughed. "A human is leading this? One human?" The Federation reports mentioned 5 human advisors. He had assumed they were minor consultants, barely worth noticing. But one was their leader? He agreed to the meeting out of curiosity more than anything. What could one human possibly say that mattered? Hana walked into the fortress alone, as promised. The Kreth soldiers watched her with weapons ready but did not fire. She was small compared to them, barely reaching their chest height. She wore simple combat gear with no armor. She carried no visible weapons. Korax received her in his command chamber. He towered over her, his armored body massive and intimidating. His face was angular and sharp, his eyes cold and calculating. He gestured to a chair, but Hana remained standing. "So," Korax said, "you are the one responsible for these childish tricks. You think you can defeat the Kreth Dominion with noises in the dark and superstitious symbols?" "I do not need to defeat you, General," Hana replied calmly. "You are defeating yourself." Korax felt anger rise but pushed it down. "Explain." "Your fortress is still secure," Hana said. "Your weapons still work. Your soldiers still follow orders. But they do not trust their fortress anymore. They do not trust their weapons. They do not trust their orders. And soon they will not trust you." "You have nothing," Korax said. "No army, no weapons. No way to harm us." "True," Hana agreed. "But I do not need those things. You built your entire strategy on being too strong to attack directly." "You are correct. I cannot attack your fortresses. I cannot defeat your soldiers in battle. So I did not try. Instead, I made you afraid. I made you doubt. I made you see threats everywhere. And now you are making mistakes." She took a step closer. "Your officers are arguing with each other. Your soldiers are exhausted from constant alerts. Your supply lines are slower because everyone checks everything 3 times. You have pulled forces back from occupied territories to guard your fortress against attacks that never come. You are losing this planet not because I am defeating you, but because you are too busy defeating yourselves." Korax stared at the small human. She was right. In the past 2 weeks, his forces had become less efficient, more paranoid, less coordinated, and he had done it to himself, responding to threats that might not even be real. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "This can end 2 ways," Hana said. "You can continue as you are, growing weaker every day while your soldiers grow more afraid. Eventually, they will break. Or you can leave now with your honor intact and report to your superiors that the Vrykol system is not worth the cost of holding." "You offer me terms?" Korax almost laughed. "You with nothing offer me terms?" "I offer you a choice," Hana said. "Keep fighting an enemy you cannot see, using tactics you cannot counter, until your forces collapse. Or withdraw now and avoid that humiliation." She turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and General? All of this, everything that has happened in the past 2 weeks? It was 5 humans, just 5. Imagine what would happen if Earth sent 100. Or 1,000. She walked out, leaving Korax alone with that thought. That night, Korax contacted the Dominion High Command. He told them the truth. The Vrykol system was in rebellion. The Resistance was using tactics the Kreth had never encountered. Holding the planet would require triple the current forces and might still fail. The Dominion recalled his forces 2 days later. As the last Kreth transport left orbit, Elder Vorin stood with the human team, watching the sky clear of enemy ships for the first time in almost a year. "You did not fire a shot," he said in wonder. "We did not need to," Hana replied. "Sometimes the best victory is the one where no one has to die." The journey back to Nexus Prime took 4 days. The small cargo ship that had carried 5 humans to an impossible mission now carried 5 humans who had won. But Hana did not feel victorious. She felt tired. Minho noticed first. He always did. "Commander, you have not smiled since we left Vrykol space. We won. The Kreth are gone. The Vrykol are free. Why do you look like we lost?" Hana sat in the small crew cabin, staring at a data pad that showed her full after-action report. Numbers, statistics, results, everything they had done, carefully documented. It looked so clean on the screen, so simple. "We broke them, Minho," she said quietly. "We deliberately targeted their minds. We made soldiers afraid to sleep. We turned their own culture against them. We made them doubt everything, even their own thoughts. They were occupying another species' homeworld," Minho said. "They killed thousands of Vrykol. They would have killed more." "I know," Hana said. "That does not make what we did easy to accept." Jiwan entered the cabin, having heard the conversation. She sat down across from Hana. "You are feeling guilt. That is normal. What we did was psychological warfare. It leaves different scars than physical combat. Harder to see, but just as real. The Council is going to ask questions," Hana said. "They are going to want details about our methods. And when they hear those details, they are going to judge us. Maybe they are right to." "Let them judge," Yuna said from the doorway. She had been listening, too. "We saved lives. Both Vrykol and Kreth. How many would have died if the Federation sent another armada? Thousands? Tens of thousands? We ended the occupation with almost no casualties on either side. The ends justify the means?" Hana asked. "No," Yuna said. "But sometimes there are no good choices. Only less bad ones. We chose the path that resulted in the least harm. That has to count for something." Daesung, who had been piloting the ship, set the controls to automatic and joined them. "The Council will judge us by their standards. They fight honorable wars with clear rules. They do not understand wars like the ones humanity fought for thousands of years. Wars where survival meant using every advantage, no matter how uncomfortable." He looked at Hana directly. "You did what needed to be done. We all did. If the Council cannot understand that, then they do not truly understand war. They only understand the sanitized version they prefer to fight." Hana finally smiled slightly. "When did you become a philosopher, Daesung?" "I listened to a lot of enemy communications," he said with a rare hint of humor. Some of it was very philosophical while they tried to figure out what was happening to them. The team spent the rest of the journey preparing. They reviewed every detail of the mission. They organized their data. They prepared answers for every question the Council might ask. But mostly they reminded each other why they had done what they did. When they docked at Nexus Prime, Admiral Sung was waiting for them. She looked older than when they had left, the lines on her face deeper, but her eyes were proud. "The Council wants your report immediately," she said after greeting them. "They are anxious to hear how you succeeded where Federation forces failed." "Anxious or angry?" Hana asked. "Both," Admiral Sung admitted. High Chancellor Vextar in particular has been very vocal about his doubts. He believes humans must have violated some Federation military protocol. He cannot accept that conventional tactics simply failed where unconventional ones succeeded. Then he is in for an education, Minho said cheerfully. Wait until he hears what we actually did. Admiral Sung looked at them seriously. This is important, not just for you but for all of humanity. How the Council reacts to your methods will shape how they view human contributions to the Federation going forward. If they see you as rule breakers or savages, it will be difficult to earn respect. If they see you as innovative problem solvers, it opens new possibilities. No pressure then, Jiwan said dryly. Tell them the truth, Admiral Sung advised. All of it. Do not soften it. Do not apologize for it. Make them understand that what you did was necessary, effective, and ultimately more merciful than conventional warfare would have been. She paused. And Hana? Make them understand that this is what humans know. This is what we bring to the Federation. Not just superior technology or larger fleets, but thousands of years of experience with every type of conflict imaginable. Make them see that as an asset, not a threat. The Grand Chamber looked exactly as Hana remembered from the briefing before their mission. Same towering ceiling, same circles of seats rising up and up, same feeling of being surrounded and judged. But this time Hana walked to the center with her head high and her team at her back. The chamber was packed. Every council seat was filled. Dozens of species, hundreds of representatives, all here to hear how 5 humans had accomplished the impossible. The murmur of countless voices in countless languages filled the air like distant thunder. When High Chancellor Vexitar called for silence, it fell immediately. He looked down at Hana with those gold coin eyes, and she met his gaze without flinching. Commander Park, his voice boomed. You stand before this council to provide a full accounting of your mission to the Vrykul cluster. We have received preliminary reports that the Kreth Dominion has withdrawn all forces from the system. We have heard that this withdrawal occurred with minimal casualties. We have heard many things. Now we will hear them from you directly. He leaned forward. Tell us, Commander. How did you defeat 50,000 Kreth soldiers with only 5 personnel? What tactics did you employ? What resources did you use? And most importantly, did you act within Federation military protocols and regulations? Hana took a breath. This was it. The moment that would define not just her mission, but possibly humanity's entire future in the Federation. High Chancellor, honored council members, she began, her voice clear and steady. I will answer all your questions truthfully and completely. But I must warn you that some of my answers may be uncomfortable to hear. Human military tactics evolved under very different circumstances than Federation military doctrine. What we consider normal warfare might seem strange or even disturbing to those who have not studied human history. We are prepared for discomfort, Vextar said. We are not children to be sheltered from harsh truths. Speak plainly. Very well, Hana said. She activated her data pad, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, visible to all council members. Let me begin with the strategic assessment we conducted upon arrival at the Vrykul system. As she spoke, laying out the details of their mission step by step, the chamber grew quieter and quieter. Council members leaned forward. Some made notes. Some simply stared in disbelief. Behind her, Hana could feel her team standing strong, ready to support every statement she made with their own testimony. She explained their analysis of Kreth psychology. She described the training they provided to Vrykul resistance cells. She detailed every tactic they had used, from the subtle to the dramatic. She showed them the results. An occupation ended, a planet freed, and casualties on both sides numbered in single digits rather than thousands. When she finished the initial briefing, the chamber erupted. A dozen council members tried to speak at once. Some voices were angry. Some were amazed. Some were horrified. Vexter called for order, his voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. This is unprecedented, he said, and for the first time he sounded uncertain rather than contemptuous. You waged war without battle. You defeated an enemy without destroying them. You used their own minds as weapons against them. Yes, Hana said simply. This is not how the Federation fights, a council member from the Velen species called out. This is not honorable combat. This is manipulation, trickery, mind games. This is how humans fight when we want to minimize casualties, Hana replied, her voice steady. Would you prefer we had done it your way? Sent massive fleets? Bombarded their positions? Lost thousands of lives on both sides? Because that option was available. We chose differently, another council member stood. But where does it end? If we accept these methods, what prevents any species from using them? The psychological damage alone could be catastrophic. Jiwon stepped forward and Hana nodded for her to speak. With respect, council member, the psychological damage from conventional warfare is also catastrophic. Soldiers who watch their friends die in battle carry those memories forever. Civilians who lose their homes to bombardment suffer trauma that lasts generations. What we did caused stress and fear, yes, but it did not cause death. Those Kreth soldiers went home to their families. Those Vrikal cities were not reduced to rubble. Which damage is truly worse? The chamber fell silent again as council members considered this. High Chancellor, Vextar looked down at the 5 humans standing before him. Yet they had accomplished what no one else could. You have given us much to consider, Commander Park, he said finally. The council will deliberate on your methods and their implications. In the meantime, you and your team are dismissed. As they walked out of the chamber, Minho whispered, "That went well, right?" "That went terrifyingly well," Yuna replied. "They are actually thinking about what we said instead of immediately condemning it." "Now we wait," Hana said, "and we see if the Federation is ready to learn from humanity, or if they prefer to keep fighting." 3 days passed before the council summoned them again. 3 days of waiting in small quarters on Nexus Prime, while the galaxy's most powerful beings debated whether humans were brilliant innovators or dangerous rule breakers. Hana spent those days reading reports, reviewing data, and trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Admiral Sung visited them on the 2nd day. She looked tired but somehow pleased. "The council chambers have not seen this much debate in decades," she said. "Half of them think you are heroes. The other half think you are dangerous. But they all agree on one thing. What you did worked." "And what do you think, Admiral?" Hana asked. Admiral Sung smiled. "I think you proved that humanity belongs in the Federation. Not as junior partners, not as primitive newcomers, as equals who bring unique value. That was always the goal, Hana. You just achieved it faster than anyone expected." When the summons finally came, the team walked to the Grand Chamber together one last time. The mood was different now. Whispers followed them through the corridors. Other species stopped to watch them pass. Some looks were hostile. Many were curious. A few were respectful. The chamber was even more crowded than before. Word had spread. Species that rarely attended council sessions were there now, curious about the humans who had changed everything. High Chancellor Vextar looked down at them from his high seat. His expression was unreadable, those gold eyes revealing nothing. "Commander Park," he began, his voice filling the chamber, "the council has spent considerable time discussing your mission and your methods. We have consulted military experts. We have reviewed historical records. We have debated the ethical implications of psychological warfare." He paused, and the silence stretched. Hana felt her team tense beside her. "We have concluded," Vextar continued, "that while your tactics are unconventional and uncomfortable, they were also remarkably effective. More importantly, they resulted in the lowest casualty count of any major military operation in Federation history. That cannot be ignored." A murmur ran through the chamber. Hana forced herself to breathe normally. "However," Vextar said, and the murmur died immediately, "we must also acknowledge that humanity's approach to warfare is fundamentally different from Federation doctrine. This is not necessarily bad, but it is different. And difference requires adaptation from all sides." He looked directly at Hana. "I called humans primitive, Commander." "I was wrong. Humanity is not primitive. You are experienced. There is a significant difference. You have survived thousands of wars on your homeworld. You have learned lessons the rest of us never needed to learn because we reached the stars during more peaceful times." Another pause. Then Vextar did something that shocked everyone in the chamber. He stood and he inclined his head toward the humans. A gesture of respect from a Draxian High Chancellor was almost unheard of. "On behalf of the Galactic Council," he said, "I apologize for underestimating humanity, and I thank you for showing us that there are other ways to resolve conflicts. Ways we had not considered?" The chamber erupted in discussion. Some council members stood to applaud. Others argued loudly. The noise was overwhelming. But Hana barely heard it. She was watching Vexitar, who was watching her with something that might have been respect. When order was finally restored, a council member from the Talvex Concordat spoke.
High Chancellor, if I may.
Several member species have expressed interest in learning human military tactics, not to replace Federation doctrine but to supplement it. To have options when conventional methods fail. A formal proposal, another council member added. The establishment of a multi-species tactical training program. With human instructors as primary advisors. Admiral Sung stepped forward from where she had been standing at the side of the chamber. The Earth government would be honored to participate in such a program. We believe that sharing knowledge benefits all species in the Federation. Vextar nodded slowly. Then let it be so. The Council will vote on this proposal at our next session. In the meantime, Commander Park and her team are to be commended for their service. You are all hereby promoted 1 rank, and you will receive the Federation Star of Merit, the highest civilian honor we can bestow on military personnel. More applause, louder this time. Even some of the skeptical council members joined in. Hana felt something tight in her chest finally relax. They had done it. Not just completed the mission, but changed how the Federation saw humanity. After the formal session ended, dozens of council members approached them. Some wanted details about specific tactics. Some wanted to understand human military history better. One elderly council member from a species Hana did not recognize simply shook her hand and said, "You reminded us that war is not just about weapons and ships. It is about understanding. Thank you for that lesson." That evening, the team gathered in the observation lounge overlooking the station's vast docking bays. Ships from 100 worlds came and went, lights moving against the stars like slow fireflies. "So," Minho said, raising a glass of something blue that a Vrykol merchant had given them as thanks. "We are heroes now. How does it feel?" "Strange," Juan admitted. "We did our job. We accomplished the mission. Now everyone acts like we discovered something revolutionary." "Maybe we did," Yuna said thoughtfully. "For them at least. The Federation has been using the same military strategies for so long, they forgot there could be other approaches. We showed them alternatives, and now they want to learn," Daesung added. "That tactical training program will be interesting. Teaching other species how to think like humans do." Hana looked out at the stars. The galaxy is vast, full of dangers we have not even encountered yet. If humanity can help the Federation prepare for those dangers, if we can save lives with our experience, then everything we went through was worth it. "Commander Park," a voice said behind them. They turned to see High Chancellor Vextar himself, without guards or attendants, standing in the doorway of the lounge. His massive form barely fit through the human-sized entrance. "High Chancellor," Hana said, surprised. "We did not expect to see you here." "I wanted to speak with you privately," Vextar said. "If that is acceptable." The team glanced at each other, then quietly excused themselves, leaving Hana alone with the most powerful being in the Federation. Vextar moved to the window, looking out at the same view Hana had been watching. "I have led the Council for 73 years, he said. "In that time, I have seen many species join the Federation. Most integrate smoothly. They learn our ways, adopt our practices, become part of the greater whole." He turned to look at her. "Humanity is different. You do not simply, you bring perspectives we never considered." "Is that a problem?" Hana asked carefully. "It is necessary," Vextar replied. "The Federation has grown comfortable, safe. We believe we know how things work, how problems should be solved. Your mission proved we were wrong. There are other ways, sometimes better ways. That realization is uncomfortable but valuable." He paused. "I underestimated your species, Commander. I saw your violent history and assumed it meant you were primitive. I did not understand that surviving that history made you wise in ways we are not. Wisdom earned through suffering," Hana said quietly. "I would not wish our history on anyone, but I cannot deny that it taught us lessons about conflict, survival, and adaptation. Lessons the Federation may need," Vextar said. "The galaxy is not entirely safe. There are threats beyond our borders, species that do not share our values or follow our rules. When we face such threats, we may need human tactics, human thinking, human experience." He met her eyes. "Can we count on humanity to help when that time comes?" "Always," Hana said without hesitation. "That is what allies do. That is what family does. And like it or not, High Chancellor, the Federation is humanity's family now." Vextar's expression softened slightly. For the first time since Hana had met him, he almost smiled. Then the Federation is fortunate to have such family, even if they are occasionally terrifying. After he left, Hana's team returned to the lounge. They found her still standing at the window, but now she was smiling. "What did he say?" Jiwon asked. "He said we are terrifying," Hana replied. "I think that was a compliment." "Definitely a compliment," Minho agreed. "We should put it on a plaque. Humanity, occasionally terrifying since forever." They all laughed, the tension of the past days finally breaking. Below them, ships continued their endless dance among the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vrikal were rebuilding their world. Somewhere else, the Kreth were reconsidering their strategies. And everywhere, word was spreading about the humans who had won an impossible war without firing a shot. A message arrived on Hana's datapad. New orders, another mission. This one to mediate a border dispute that had been going on for decades. Admiral Sung wanted human perspective on the situation, human tactics, human innovation. Hana read the orders to her team. They groaned, but they were smiling too. This was their purpose now. Not just soldiers, but bridges between humanity and the wider galaxy. Teachers of hard-earned lessons. Proof that being different was not weakness, but strength. "When do we leave?" Yuna asked. "Tomorrow," Hana said. "Always tomorrow. There is always another problem to solve, another impossible situation to handle." "And we keep saying yes," Daesung observed. "Of course we do," Hana said. "That is what